Look how cute you are.
All righty. Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started in just a second here. And all right. And then Melody and Kelly, just make sure you unmute yourself once we get started. So welcome everybody to the Master Gardener Western Water efficient landscaping workshops. We're really excited to have everybody back here for another season of workshops with Master Gardeners. I'm Jeffrey Diaz. I'm your host from Western Water. I do the water use efficiency coordination at Western Water. And I'm really happy to have everybody here back in these workshops so we can learn about how we can save water. At the same time, we can find out new ways of gardening and new tips and tricks and techniques. We're really lucky today to have Kelly Shaw to be teaching us about how we can grow food with hydroponics. And she's been telling us that we have a lot of other cool tips and tricks that she's going to show us. Real quick before I pass it over to Melody, like I mentioned, I'm the water use efficiency coordinator at Western Water. For our customers, we have a lot of educational programs like this one, but we also have a lot of support in devices and water use efficiency devices and figuring out ways how you can save water at your household. So if anybody is a Western Water customer and has any questions on that, you are more than welcome to give me a call. I'll drop my information in the chat, and that way we can talk about how we can save water. So I'm going to pass it over to Melody now, Master Gardener Melody Knox.
Well, hello, everybody. And some of you, I haven't seen you for a while, my fellow Master Gardeners, and it's good to see all the different names here. So I'm glad that you guys got up early this morning to join us and to listen to me harass you guys for a moment. I'm going to make this quick because Kelly has a whole lot of wonderful information to tell us, and I don't want to take up all of your guys' time because you guys who know me know that I can talk. So really quick for the people who are not Master Gardeners and you don't know some of the things that we do, I'm just going to make it really quick. As Master Gardeners, we have events throughout Riverside County. We are trained volunteers in the science-based information, and we advise and educate the public on gardening and horticulture. So we have a lot of information tables, Ask the Master Gardener tables, and sometimes people come through and they're not really sure who we are or what we do, but please stop by the tables and ask us questions because that's what we're there for. We have them in Corona. Usually they're like the first Saturday, and they usually go from 8:30 to 12:30. We have them in Riverside. Saturday between 5th and 6th Street downtown. We have them in a Temecula Promenade on Wednesdays. Also, usually I believe it's the 2nd and the 4th Wednesdays. We have them in Palm Springs indoors because it's so hot out there. And then we also have them in Marietta and Vail Ranch. So please feel free to come up there and talk to us and find out all the different things that we do. A couple things that I did want to say, if you have any gardening problems, we have a helpline. We also have a number, and I'm going to put that into the chat so that way you guys can reach out to us. And then we have at the Botanical Gardens on Sundays, usually it's the first Sunday and the first Sunday and the third Sunday, where you can come out there and ask questions regarding the butterfly gardens. So there's a whole lot of different things that are going on as we progress through the year. I will make sure that I get information to Jeffrey so he can put it onto the Wells Water District site, and that way you guys can see what's also going on. We have a lot of training classes that come up, and so the more, of course, that you know when we do have the presenters here, the more that you'll understand what they're saying. So again, like to keep everybody involved in what we do as UC Master Gardeners. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kelly really quick. Though I do want you guys, if you have any questions, to put them into the chat box, and then of course I will relay the questions to her and she will answer them for you. So again, Kelly's one of our UC Master Gardeners. She's also an educator. She's very nice, very intelligent lady. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Kelly, so that way you can get us started, because I know you have a whole bunch of information for us, and we're looking forward to listening to you.
Thank you. And thank you to Jeffrey and Melody and all our Master Gardeners. Like they introduced me, my name is Kelly Shaw. I am a teacher in elementary school here in Paris. And I'm also, I have a certificate in hydroponics from the University of Arizona. We also have earned grant nationally with a Farm to Grant school in hydroponics. We're a green ribbon school. meaning in California as well as nationwide, using as our platform to grow schools produce, send it back to the cafeteria, and the kids get to benefit from that. So without further ado, today I'm going to be talking a little bit about growing food with hydroponics, the different types of hydroponics. And like I said, my name is Kelly, and I wanted to start off with first is a question, because why hydroponics? Well, in the year 2050, we should hit about 10 billion people in the population. We don't have enough land to sustain that. So we would need to increase our food production by 70%. So anybody can do hydroponics, but we definitely see a need just based upon feeding our population. So that's the why. That's the teacher in me for the why. Today, I'm going to talk to you about types of hydroponics, the benefits, and the growing at home. So those are my three. And before I get going, if you're not familiar with hydroponics, I want to let you know what it is. Hydroponics is essentially soilless growing in nutrient-rich water. It is, you probably don't even realize it has been around for over 2,000 years. It's nothing new. Your grandparents probably did it, a type of hydroponics, and you didn't even realize that it was actually coined or named hydroponics. What I have for our outcomes today, I would love for you to be able just to know that some basic types of hydroponics, the benefits, how you can start them at home, time-wise, budget-wise, and space-wise. Those are our outcomes today. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the types of hydroponics. Basically, we have about 6 to 7 basic types of hydroponics with variants. There's a lot of variants in some of these, and I'll go over what would best work for you and your house, also how much you want to spend as well, so that you have kind of that basic understanding of what might be the best fit for you. And you do not need to have a certificate in hydroponics. Failure is my best teacher, and that's therefore something that I recommend. Just dive in and see what works for you. My first basic types of hydroponics is a wick system. This is usually what I use with my kids at school. It's a very simple type. There's no electricity needed. There's no aerators needed. It's kid friendly. You can pick up the supplies at a Lowe's in a container. As you see, the wick is usually something cotton based to bring up water. The theory is like a straw kind of sucking up the liquid to go to the roots of the plants. So it's definitely, usually you get some basic systems for a wick. Would you like to do things like, I would say more small rooted things like lettuce, some cruciferous vegetables, things that don't have large root systems, because you'll need a bigger reservoir, and you want to kind of keep that probably on your counter, being kid friendly as well. They like to do that as well. I usually have a system. I usually have my kids start these, and we use lettuce. Lettuce is great in a wick system. It is a very good example. Or herbs, any like basil, any sort of sage, anything that you might use in the kitchen. A wick system would be a very good system. You want to also just make sure you have good lighting as well, but there's no electricity needed for this. Also, I have that there's a nutrient solution. I use just a basic, you can buy a liquid food, and you need minuscule amounts, milliliters. It is nothing by any means that you need to go out and spend a lot of money on your nutrient solution. You can pick it up at Lowe's even. Nowadays they have them. Oops. The next type of system I want to discuss is called an ebb and flow system. It's also known as a flood and drain type of system, where they literally, like the ocean floods it and then it rapidly drains it, just to keep our roots nice and wet. It's not something that it's not something that necessarily is as popular. Is you're looking for space. It will take up a lot of space, but is very popular with the home hydroponic gardeners. Think of it as almost like a flat. Takes about 4 times 3, about 12 square feet of space. You're going to want to have plants that have in a large grow medium, like in the sense of, again, you're looking at your cruciferous. Tomatoes, maybe not the best bet to put in these systems, the ebb and flow. This is where the bed is flooded with nutrient rich solution. And at a certain point, like I said, it drains on its own, so it doesn't overflow. But you're also going to need to add a pump and a timer and an automatic drain. Now, with this system, it increases your nutrients, so you have better growth and control of that. And oxygen is directly into your roots because of that, and you definitely will get quicker results in your produce. And for example, just to give you an example about with ebb and flow, on an average head of lettuce, if you grew this outside, you're looking about 75 days. In an ebb and flow system, you will probably grow in about 42 days. So there's a big time, and at least you don't have to your turnover, and you're not using a lot of water, because your water is with hydroponics, and I'll talk more about this a little later. The benefits is you use 90% less water because it's all circulating as well. So Melody, did you have a question that you wanted to ask? I saw something fly up on my screen, or do you want to wait?
Well, no, since you are available for it right now,
Sure.
got a question from KV. She wanted to know for the food, for the WIC hydroponic system, is regular Miracle-Gro okay?
In the sense of, is it a liquid? Liquid Miracle-Gro nutrients?
She didn't say that. Well,
Yeah.
Kay, can you
Yeah.
speak up on that?
I just was wondering, do you mean, because you said give them food on your countertop if you're trying that WIC system, but is it just regular liquid plant food goes in the water?
Yeah, yes, just very, like literally like a milliliter of
Okay.
a liquid type of nutrients for your plants.
Okay, I didn't know if it had to be a special hydroponics.
No, it
Okay.
doesn't. In the sense of, if you really get into it, I definitely advise you to it, but you can just purchase it. They sell them now at Lowe's. It's just a liquid. You can also, anything in the Aero Garden field, they already have the liquid as well, but they have them. So I think there are dollars for the nutrients, and you don't need a lot. Less is more.
Okay,
So
thank you.
you're welcome. The next system that I wanted to talk about is called a drip system. This system can be you can either have the water circulating or non-circulating. And it really takes a reservoir, and you could buy a type of reservoir like this. We built these at school. So we use plastic containers, food grade, and we placed a pump in the bottom of the reservoir, and the pump brought up the water with plastic tubing and literally dripped it in each of the into each of the plants. Now, they definitely give you you can grow a wide variety in the system. So you could grow different types of herbs. You can grow different types of lettuce. It is definitely something you can put on your counter, inside. You could have it outside as well, because you don't have to have any light systems attached to it. It definitely gives you a lot of opportunities, and this one too, you don't need a drain. When it drips, it just drips back into the water, into the reservoir, which is a really nice. You don't have to have extra parts or anything of that sort. It's not so elaborate, and cost cutting, it's very I'd say I'd say you could buy all the parts for about $50. So it's very, very reasonable as well. And your cost or your size, I'd say maybe about 2 feet. You can purchase some containers for about that. I would make sure that they are nice and durable for water, so you don't want any leaks. The medium I use for this, you could do a couple things. So a lot of these have baskets, and they're called net pots, which look like a little system here. I was moving this one. You can use something like this as a net pot. You can also buy these, but I also like to repurpose things. You can use a yogurt container. It's a food grade. The individual yogurt containers that you can see where the arrow's pointing to, that you can use yogurt containers. They work just as well and they're just as easily. You just need to put a couple holes in the bottom, and again, they're food grade. So when you cut a hole on the top of the lid of your container, you place the yogurt gently inside with the lips. A lot of times kids yogurts are attached. They're the perfect size, and you can place it in there, and you can place your medium that you grow. This medium is rock wool. It's literally just sliced rock. You can use this, and you can also purchase this at a very large sheet of it, usually Lowe's or Home Depot. You can also order it online. I have a little plant in this one. You can also purchase something like this, which is like a cocoa core. Both of these are really not decomposable, but they are working on those for right now, and we don't. So they do last, but you don't reuse them. So they do both work in that system, but you don't necessarily want to reuse them. So again, so if you in the drip system purchase the water pump, the solution, you may have your own little yogurt containers, or even if you chose net pots and the lid, I'd say about $50 for this, for all the parts. You do not need to also use hydroponic seeds. You can just use seeds I like to buy non-genetically modified seeds for my systems. So this is a basic one that I start my kids with. This one is called the Cracky method. It's named after a scientist in Hawaii, but this has been around for thousands of years, this method, and your grandparents probably used it. And I have one, for example, that my kids use. So this is kid friendly. It's simple. It's passive. I reused a pasta jar. Now I use net pots because the net pots work well for me because I have them at school. But again, you can use a yogurt container. I do have rock wool in here, but the roots touch the water. They're not submerged. They have to allow for that air gap. You can grow herbs, grow very well in here. Basil is a great thing to have in here. Lettuce, I always like to grow lettuce indoors because I can grow lettuce around the year indoors in hydroponics. And again, the only thing I would advise, because this is glass and light, with light and water, you might have algae. And my suggestion is use an old sock, put the sock and cover up your glass jar. Again, use what you have. I try to always be very respectful of how I can repurpose things, especially working in school. I don't have enough money and a budget just to go out and buy fancy things. So I just use a dark black sock and put it over. You can also cover it with paint. You can use foil, whatever you have that's handy to stop your algae from penetrating. You can keep this in the kitchen in indirect light. You can also keep it outside. You can go for containers. Again, a food grade container, drill holes in the lid, place your roots in. And I don't know if you can see, these are kind of, you can see how your roots, they'll go right into the water, and you just leave it in there. You don't have to do anything. it will probably last, depending on your reservoir, unless you have a lot of algae, it will stay at least for 2 to 3 weeks, and you don't even have to think about it. So it's a very hands-off system, and again, very good with water, very good. So I'm going to go to the next one. There is, I see a question regarding this before I go on, Melody. I'll just address. Usually, I just eyeball it. I literally mix a large amount of water that go with, let's say I put a gallon of water and a milliliter of nutrient, and then I just fill it up that way. I don't usually try to take a small container like this and then put the nutrients in it. I try to dilute it as much as possible because less nutrients really are better than more nutrients. I don't know if that question was that question was answered before I went on. I wanted to. So the next type of hydroponics that I want to talk about is a deep water culture. We also refer to this as DWC. You might have heard them before. They're called Dutch buckets. These work well for big root systems like tomatoes. I've grown tomatoes in these, and they do a great thing. Literally, you put some, you get a nice big reservoir. You can get a food grade bucket, and you're going to purchase a, they make kind of like a basket lid that goes over the top of bucket so it holds on. You literally put some, I refer these as like they're just made out of kind of look like volcano rock, but they're called terracotta. They're like a terracotta hydro pellet. You again purchase these at Lowe's, Home Depot, a hydroponic store online. They're very inexpensive. I think I bought a 50-pound bag for $19. You do not need that many. The reason is they just give the structure, the plant, a place to hold. They provide no nutrients. But if you look at the picture, it just provides that stability inside the nutrient, so the plant doesn't tip over inside the Dutch bucket system. It is just providing the rock wool, the mediums that I talked about. They just provide stability for the plant. They offer no nutrients. So if your plant is sitting by itself and doesn't need them, you don't need something like this. It's just there in case of if your plant is tending to fall over, because the basket usually is quite large in a Dutch bucket system or a deep water culture. With this system, your plant roots are suspended in the nutrients. As you can see on the picture, you also use an air stone or some sort of diffuser to put the bubbles in to bring that oxygen up. You want to make sure that the roots are not submerged. Just in any hydroponics, you should never have your roots all the way submerged. And this system, I would say, I spent about $100 in my Dutch bucket systems because I had at least 3 different systems with the air pumps. Depending on the type of air pump, they're about $10 to $15 a piece. I start everything by seed. So again, it takes a little bit to get going. That's why I transfer a lot of plants from indoors to outdoors, just because it's a little easier and it's not so extremely hot for the deep water culture, for the plants to sit outside. And then once once they're large enough to take on the heat for, like, I'm thinking of like tomatoes, I transfer them outside in the full sun. You don't need any light systems or anything of that sort. Oh, that's a great question. And how and where do you start your seeds? I usually start my seeds in a Costco chicken container. You know, the Costco rotisserie chickens? I know they're now using bags, but so I usually start them there first in a medium like rock wool until they get about they get their true leaves about 2 to 3 inches. And I say I start them that way. I have other systems I start now at school because it's a lot to monitor. But if you have a strawberry container, you know, you buy your strawberries, you get some rock wool. And again, rock wool is very inexpensive. It's literally sliced rock. If you take these, you soak them for 30 minutes, and inside there's a little divot. And inside the divot, you put your seeds. You put your rock wool inside, like the strawberry container. You close your strawberry container up and literally check on it to make sure it's wet, not sopping wet. And then literally probably about 10 days, you should have good seedlings. I would wait till you have your true leaves before you transfer them over, and the heat, depending on their temperatures outside. But that's how I start my seeds. You can, and I will show you, you can start them in a particular system. I'll show you a little later that I start mine and an individual 2-liter bottle for some independent seeds. But again, it's what works for you. I started my kids with their Cracky system. I started them all in a little Costco container and gave them and covered them up until they were ready to transplant. So I had more control over them, so they're not in the heat. But I hope I answered that question. So the next system I want to talk about is aeroponics. Aeroponics are what we have, and this system is quite expensive if you buy a tower. If you buy a tower, our systems with the lighting run about $1,500 in the class. Now, these I'm partial to because I like them for many reasons. One, they are very self-sufficient. I don't really need to check on them. They come with a timer for the pumps and the lights. The water and nutrient reservoir is at the base, as you can see with the picture. And literally, the water literally pumps all the way up and then just lets the miss the roots. And mentioned in this one, you start growing and planting in a smaller system for the best results. Here also, I have the lights attached indoors. I have one at home that does not need lights. So it depends what you would like. You can build these out of PVC pipe out of the Lowe's, and they are obviously much cheaper than the name brand of the Tower Garden. But again, it depends on how creative you can be. You can use 3D printers nowadays to build them as well. You can also use a 3D printer to create the net pots. If you are really techie, those are also available as well. And you can see the roots hanging as the water, the nutrient-rich water. Now, when I use this system, I tend to use nutrients that go, nutrients that go with the system. So at school, I use nutrients that go with the Tower Garden that are liquid. But I'm going to tell you at home, I don't use liquid nutrients for large systems because they are mainly water. I use something like this. This is a dry hydroponics maxi grow. I have one for the roots and one for the blooms. 2 of these bags are $30, and they will last me probably over a year. That's how you don't need a lot. Again, for the larger systems, I use good nutrients versus the smaller systems. I might use something just like you can buy, whether you can buy them at the plant store, like a little small bottle of something. And those are liquid. So again, it depends on what you like. The water nutrients will go into the reservoir. I usually fill up my reservoirs literally once or twice a month, depending on the growth cycle. So Right now, one of our fifth grade teachers or two of our fifth grade teachers they're growing pumpkins in the system. So they're heavy feeders. The bigger the plant is, the heavier water it will take. But again, it uses a lot less water. And it's definitely something, I really like the system. I'm very partial to the system for a lot of reasons. I have good results and consistency.
Kelly, and there's another question in here. Are there plans available for the aeroponics and nut pots online? So I think I'm going to make sure I'm answering the question right. I'm thinking they're saying, are there like a way to build those or to show how
Yes,
those are?
I don't have one, but there are so many systems that you can build online that from a 3D printer or just the PVC pipes as well as the net pots. I don't know if that answers their question or not. I don't see anything on my side, but I don't want to make sure that there are a lot of videos online, a lot.
Okay, I think it did. If not, Thomas, you have to come back and ask again.
So yes. So so those were basically the 6 different types of systems. There are huge variants in them. So again, we went from aeroponics, which is a very expensive. They take about they're about 6 feet tall. Commercial wise, if I went back to the NFT system, I have one in my room. This system costs $5,000, but it's more of a commercial system. So the cracky method, if I went back, is a very inexpensive. I mean, it's dollars compared to some of the other systems. A drip system, I would say, runs about $50 with all the parts and components. And you can definitely research online all of everything that you would need for yours, for individual. And maybe at one point, I come back and I focus on one system and show you all the parts, how we put it together. This is more only an introduction of what you can grow and what the foods are that you can put in there. So I'll go back through. And so some of the benefits that I mentioned that you use traditionally 90% less water than traditional farming and gardening. I get a higher yield because if you think about it, I'm in my classroom, so I have a controlled environment. I do not battle with pests in the sense of, unless my door's open, once in a while I might get a pest. So I don't use spray. So I can't say they're organic, but I have less pests. I have targeted nutrient absorption. So let's say my lettuce outside, it's got to look for all the nutrients in the soil versus here, it's targeted to the roots and it takes it up. I can yield my lettuce 40 days and it's beautiful color. And I'll show you some pictures as we go along. I also have less, so I still have 30 kids in my classroom and I have 5 commercial systems in my classroom. And I have a standard classroom. So you have saving space. I can produce 200 heads of lettuce, over 200 heads of lettuce in a 12-foot space versus can you imagine if you had it in your yard? And I'm also not usually getting a bunny eating my lettuce or other items. And I get to do year-round growing. So lettuce, as you know, and I focus on lettuce because that is traditionally something that we all eat. Lettuce, I can grow all year. I do not have to wait for the summer or the winter. I can eat lettuce all year long. And fresh herbs. One of my favorite influences my hydroponic journey has been Stephen Ritz. And I don't know, I'm in the field of education and I love my kids, but I love growing with them. And he wrote a book because he's an educator in New York about the food deserts that we have in this world of not just it's more of the grocery stores. And we're not in Dubai. That's not what I'm referring to, but people don't have access to fresh food. So his quote that resonates with me is about, you can change the way children live and eat through the simple act of growing food and create the next generation of environmental stewards and equity warriors. He's in New York, where they don't have access to fresh fruit and vegetables. And this is one of the reasons growing hydroponically is such a huge benefit. You can have access to your own fresh food. And if the pandemic showed us nothing, having that accessibility to having what you can grow in your own home, on your own counter, in your own yard, without having elaborate systems, you can do it. So I wanted to show you some pictures of my systems that I have in my classroom. This one is the NFT system. You can see my kids plant all this. This is all my kids doing. This is all romaine lettuce. It grows, the little individual holes have, it is a type of cocoa core, a medium, kind of a spongy, and they plant the seed in there. In here is where all the nutrient water goes. It's pumped to the base and it goes right into the bottom and it pumps up on the side. These are more of a commercial system. You'll see these all across the United States and anyone who grows into a greenhouse. This also includes lights. Again, these systems run about $5,000. This system is what my kids did. This is the drip system. You see that we just have a basic water reservoir. We bought at Lowe's. The kids built this. They have a top. There's the rock wool, the little tubing. They hooked up the tubing here and they're growing. I'm just using my classroom light. It has no particular light source, but they're growing in here. So if I move through, these are some of our other pictures that my kids have done. This is our lettuce that we harvested. You can see the beautiful color in the systems that we have. I usually like to grow different types of lettuce as well because not everybody eats it. This is some of my kids, they were growing. We grew Swiss chard, flowers, herbs, teas. The most important thing is, what do you want to grow? And if you think about it, you can grow a lot of things. It necessarily not everything. You can't necessarily yield a lot of tubers. I've had some success with like radishes in the system, but you don't really want to use carrots or potatoes. Anything that's a rooted vegetable is not as successful in a hydroponics. You can see again, this is my drip system that my kids did. They're the hydro plants. They have basil as well. This one my kids did as well. This system is a wick system. So they have cilantro growing in these, and the water's down below. The wick brings up the water into the rock wool, and the system is growing right here. Again, another one of my systems the kids built. Just an example, the water, the roots are here. It just sitting, you can see a little bit of the green, so they're aware. With education, I don't like to give them, I want them to think, I don't want to give them all the answers. This one's an example of a deep water culture. You can't really see it, but inside there's a little cocoa core and they're sitting in water. Now it kind of floods it out. And so it's not, the roots are not, the roots cannot sit in water indefinitely or submerged in water. They've got to have access to air. So again, that's just a different kind of system. That's more of elaborate, more of a high school system. Same thing down here, just a aerial vision. For me, I always want my kids to think about, what do you think will happen in your lettuce seed? And you can see we just use basic seeds. Here, some of our different systems that we used, repurposing products, household products. There's my my chicken cover. I just use also food grade. I went to the Dollar Tree and cut holes in plastic containers and made them. I repurposed, one of my kids gave me a chocolate thing and I repurposed this. There's my cottage cheese, 2-liter bottles. This is one of some of our lettuce in our systems. You can see that are commercialized. That's the NFT. Again, just a different version of the kids growing, an outdoor system, different things that I have as well. And I did use, I did create a video for, you can find this on, you can find this on YouTube under Lady Kale. Here I did, this is a little, I added soil here because this is during the pandemic and I wanted my kids to use things at home because I didn't want them to go outside. I wanted them to be able to control what they could grow. So I did add a little soil, but I still used the wick system. You can see the yogurt container as well that I use. So I try to only use household products. Let's see. I think that's that was just about mine. So I wanted to share with you a couple systems that you can use from your home. And so I wanted to do a basic system and show you. So I use this food grade container, like a protein container. It's solid white. And I just drilled a hole of the size of either the yogurt container or the net pot. This system would be, I would use this for a cracky method. I would fill this up with water with nutrients in it to where the end of the roots touch the water. I would not submerge this basket. So I placed the yogurt, you can use a yogurt, this protein container, and I placed my net pot right inside. It fits really snugly. I got I just drilled, you can cut them because some of the containers are thin enough you can cut with scissors and just mark it. And I started my lettuce and with my rockwool in my container that I use for Costco. Again, did not use any special seeds, about 2 weeks, 10 days, depending on my growing. And from there, I just place it in here. And that's it. This is a passive system. I need no aerators, nothing. I leave it on my counter in the indirect light and I will yield lettuce. Now, will I yield enough lettuce to feed a family? Probably not unless I had many systems. So it's something you can think about adding. You can put, depending on the reservoir, you can put a tomato in here because they are self-pollinating. You can put herbs in here. Basil loves this type of system. And again, it depends on the size of your reservoir. You do not need to replenish the water. You can just let it grow. Another system I wanted to share with you is I took some 2-liter bottles. Again, they're food grade. I cut the tops off. So if I took the top from here and I cut it off. Now, I chose green, and allegedly green prohibits algae. So it is something to think about, again, as a home grower, that you don't want to battle algae because it can kill your new seedlings. So you got to get that balance. So I took the cover, I cut it off, and I did it twice. So I have 2 of these. So I took the bottom and I took the bottom off. So I took a piece of material and I placed it as this is going to be the acting wick. So I took a sock. Let me just move this over. I took a sock, my odd sock that didn't make it out of the pair. I cut it up. Again, I don't need to purchase a wick. I cut it up. I took the lid off. I traced the lid, the wick inside all the way so that when I fill up the water, it's going to touch the water just like this. Do not put it all the way to the bottom. You're going to have some issues with some algae. So I let it just rest in kind of like a straw. I let the top of this fabric kind of sit in here just like this. I take my net pot. Again, you can use a yogurt container, a little yogurt container. And I usually thread my yogurt container, or excuse me, the wick through my net pot or my yogurt container. So in essence, I want the wick to sit at the bottom of the container that I'm using. So this net pot, I like my wick to sit at the bottom, whether I cut a little hole in it or thread it through, because the idea is the wick is bringing the water up. So my rock wool that sits in here is going to absorb the water that way. Think of it kind of like a straw. So once I've done that and I have threaded my through, so if you're looking kind of like this, I've threaded it through, I have placed it in here and I pull it down this way. These for the teacher part, this is great and make and take. Teachers love make and take stuff. Or if you're at a craft. So you place it in like this. You have now filled your container up with your water. And you place it like this. If you can see, I have it like this. I might put a little coconut, my little terracotta in here just to kind of give it a little stability. I might place it around here. And this system I've adapted because I wanted to see if I could grow something right from seed. And I grew tomatoes from this system right from seed. So once I took my medium, I placed it in my net pot with my seed. And then I took the top and I covered it like this. It became its own greenhouse. And I kept it like this until the plant reached the top. And from there, then I took it off and I actually yielded tomatoes out of these. So I was very successful. Now, mind you, do I have enough tomatoes to feed my family? Since my family doesn't really like tomatoes, yes, maybe. But again, if you think about trying small and what you have at home before you go spend a lot of money, that is just something that you want to consider. That is definitely a fun opportunity to give it a try.
So Kelly, there's a question. They wanted to know about empty K-cups, or do you think those are too small?
I think they're a little, let me see, I have one. I think you could, it depends, because I have one right here. They're not as deep. That's the only part that but you know what? Give it a try. Repurpose what you have before you spend money. I'm all about that kind of repurposing what we have before spending something that you don't know whether you're going to like it or if it's going to be successful for you. So,
and Kelly, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't know if you have this in your slide, but please also let people know that your kids do grow food and that you guys have been able to sell it. So I'm not sure if you're going to even talk about that, but please put that in there. So you gotta let them know how great you are.
Well, you're very kind. So I also, so we grow our school's lettuce and we sell it back at the going rate. We figure all this mathematically, and the money comes back to the school for the quote, the garden fund, that the kids decide what we grow. So I want you to also, I've been talking about food today. I also want you to consider growing something else, as in flowers, herbs. So in some of our hydroponics, like last year, we grew edible flowers. Edible flowers make they cost a lot of money at the store. We also use them to press, made arts to press for Mother's Day with them. We also have a tower that is a wellness tower that we grew hydroponically for lavender, chamomile. We use that so that when the kids went into the wellness center, they could use and they could break off the, they could either choose to eat it if they wanted to right off the vine, because again, I'm not using any pesticides. They can rub it just for the smell, like mint. Mint, by the way, grows in some of these systems. And I would not put mint in a large system, it will overtake, but in some of the smaller systems, mint does very well. And we use all of that. So it's not just quote food, even though the herbs are food, there's flowers that are food, there's other things you can grow as well. Right now, we also are growing, we're growing flowers that we can use as dye, that we can dye material with, because I want the kids to understand that garden and hydroponics are not just growing lettuce or growing a tomato. Like what you think of something what can it do for you? What would you like to grow? I know we've just talked about cruciferous and tomatoes. Like I said, my 5th grade counterparts are growing pumpkins. You can grow pumpkins in systems. They have to be larger in the reservoir, but see what you grow. We also made tea, our own tea. So we grew chamomile, lavender, and the kids created their own tea blend. We dehydrated it. They took the fractions, and my kids are 8. So they're not by any means an adult, but we did this together. So you can also dehydrate what you grow and you can save it. So if you grow basil and you have a lot of basil, dehydrate it, make pesto, mint, maybe you make your own tea. There's just so many possibilities what you can grow in your hydroponics that I want you to really think about. What can you not grow, or what do you want to grow? All of those questions should be open-ended. So, but I wanted to see if I had any more questions, and I want to respect time because I think we're coming close to our end.
There's no more in here at the moment, but I'm going to put that out there to everybody. Look, last call for alcohol. If you got any questions, please go ahead and you know, throw them in there. Because she has a lot of knowledge on different types of the hydroponics, so it's just not limited to this. So just don't be shy. And for those of you out there, you're probably sleeping on me, but I need y'all to wake up right now and ask a question.
And don't be overwhelmed. Find something that's something small if you want to try and go from there. Even propagation works in hydroponics. So one of my friends who had an heirloom tomato seed from her grandmother that was deceased, she had no more seeds. So we used the propagation to cut a clone and propagated it the next year into the system indoors and grew tomatoes all year from her family's heirloom seed, that so we didn't let the plant die. And so that also brings me to one other thing. So I like propagation. I like plants as a give me. You can also take cuttings and place your cuttings in a hydroponic system. So let's say a friend gave you some. You can also do the same thing. So these plants, obviously you don't eat, but there are different cuttings that you can use. Basil is a great one you can use. You can get a friend, use basil. I would suggest only the soft stems when you go to propagate and place them in a hydroponic system. The wood, woodies, like for example, lavender wood or basil, when it goes to wood during the winter months, you really want the soft stems to propagate to work into the hydroponics well. Again,
What's
there's
the odd
so
question?
many.
Oh, are there any recommended resources online to start simply? Anything you recommend for someone to go and research or pull up?
There are just so many videos, I guess is where that I just started there. There's so many videos that you could just research that are free. You don't need to buy books. You don't need to purchase anything elaborate. See what you have in your pantry. Like I said, a reservoir like this, reusable food grade things, food grade buckets are great because the food grade bucket you can just poke holes in. I've used food grade Tupperware and cut a hole in it, and I had just used scissors and placed a yogurt container in there and started. So it's definitely something that's very doable.
So there's a question from Margaret Lindow. She wanted to know, can we find you online?
How do you find me online? I'm not that very techy. So, but I do have, like, if you search me for Lady Kale as well. But yes, it maybe the Master Gardeners have something more specific in purpose of make and take or something. One time we can branch out, or if I get punny, so we can grow more. but there are not necessarily just me, but you can find some things that I do that I've made some videos for my kids. Again, my target audience is my kids at 8 and 9 years old. So I have been in Lady Kale on YouTube.
Kelly, how would you spell that? This lady?
Just let me go back to, let me see if I just, whoops. So here I am right here. So Lady Kale, Ladykale.
Okay. I'm just gonna
And
put
you
that
can
in
see
the
my
chat.
May Ranch shirt. That's all you'll know probably.
Okay.
Because I'll be talking to my kids.
So that would be, they could find that, find more.
Yes.
Okay.
Kale's a great thing to grow in them as well. Not maybe kids like kale, but I eat a lot of kale and put it in my smoothies.
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you do when you get algae? Is there a way to clean it out of like your tubing and your reservoir, or do you just throw everything out?
Well, I usually just rinse it out. But like, you said about the tubing, the straw cleaners, I just clean the straw cleaners that way. There are things that you can purchase, but again, I try not to purchase. I try to just solve my problem and rinse it out. That's why I like systems that have covers. So I don't have algae. I can be preventive in that regard. And green, these kind of the green is supposed to, it is one of the colors that algae is not tending to grow scientifically, allegedly. So I see a lot less of the algae in the green bottles than I do in the clear. I don't know if that helps or answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, we did have a question, and I'm just going to make a blanket statement. This session is being recorded, so possibly in a week or so, maybe a little bit afterwards, it should be on the Western Water District site, the same place where you came to log in or to register. This will be up there. So no, she doesn't have any notes. We're not sending out her PowerPoint or anything like that, but you will be able to view this as many times as you need to.
Somebody asked about hydrogen peroxide. So hydrogen peroxide in a smaller system, it really messes with the pH, and I didn't even talk about pH in your plants. You need so little of pH to kill the hydrogen peroxide. I'm very hesitant to say using pH or to using hydrogen peroxide to kill. Yeah, I just would, the smaller systems, I would just not use, I just don't use hydrogen peroxide to kill algae or anything. I try really hard to be preventive and not use that. So I don't know if that helps or hinders, because that's just kind of something for school wide, and even home, I just try not to use.
And she was saying just in the tubing?
Well, in the tubing, I literally just use a straw cleaner, and the tubing is so inexpensive. I guess for me, I buy black tubing. That really helps as well. But I use it, you can see, and my kids did it, and we didn't have any algae problems like that I suspected. And maybe it's just because the exposure to light, I don't know, but we didn't have as much as I expected.
All right, people, no more questions. Like I said, we have about one more minute, so we could get it in a small shot of alcohol. Like I said, last call for alcohol. I know it's early on a Saturday morning, but hey, it's got to be 5 o'clock someplace. No questions?
In Europe?
Yep. Was this not an excellent presentation? A nice, excellent and thorough presentation? Looks like there was a comment from someone saying that they would like you to do another presentation, I guess, on probably one of the systems that you use. But I know that would be something that you could come up with, and you could even piggyback off of this.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Oh yeah. That I don't know if I have So in my notes, I do have a 2-liter bottle with tomatoes for the science club. I do have that in my notes because I wrote it for my kids. Let me go back in my PowerPoint because I attached it in there. Let's see, because I wrote in my supplies. If you contact me in my, so the person who asked me that about their granddaughter, I'm going to give you my school email. Let's see if I can go back to just the name of, her name is Margaret. Let me see if I can find Margaret. There she goes. Margaret, I'm giving you my school email, and I will, if you email me, I will send your granddaughter the lesson on the 2-liter bottles, because anything to do with my kids, I love that kind of stuff. So but yes, so I'll try to get that. If you send that to me by Monday, I'll try to get that those directions for the 2-liter bottle I did for my kids. So, oh, I think she got it there.
Well, Jeffrey, I guess we're getting ready to sign off here, but Kelly, this has been wonderful hanging out with you and listening to all this great information. And I'm quite sure everyone else here feels the same way. Again, wonderful and thorough presentation.
Well, thank
I
you
was
very
even over here,
kindly.
yeah, taking little notes. At least I'm blessed. I know where you're at. I can find you really quick.
Yes. And please, if you have questions, I know that this was just kind of an icing, like just I didn't even go into the depth of, it was just kind of an introduction of what you can grow. And please give it a try. Reach out to the Master Gardeners. I know we have some great support. So please don't be intimidated by either money, space. Think of the benefits for growing your own food. Think of be able to control your own food and the nutrients, because it is very nutrient dense as well versus what we get nowadays compared to 20 years ago. There's so many perks that I just and it's just something that I really enjoy, and I want my kids to do and enjoy as well. So thank you.
All right, Jeffrey, where'd you go?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Have a quick technical difficulty, but I'm back. First of all, Kelly, thank you so much for being here and giving us this amazing presentation. I'm just so grateful, first of all, and I'm really excited because this was one of the topics that I was really looking forward to, because I would love to, do something with hydroponics and extend your knowledge and your reach to the kids and to the rest of the district. So very happy that you were able to be here.
I want it real fast. Someone had a question. And first of all, I wanted to tell you thank you, and very humbly for the time and everything. And someone asked me on my screen before that about the worm tea. So worm tea I have used. I'm not saying for a home product, I would say yes. For a commercial system, I'd say no. So it's just, I would love to see you try it. Because I do worm tea as well, but not in my commercial systems or the large systems, because the plant doesn't get everything it needs. So, but just to answer that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to make sure
no worries.
they got their question answered.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, actually, everybody who came and joined us as well. Get this good information and spread the word. As Melody said, this workshop is being recorded and will be posted on the Master Gardener website, which is right here. It's in the chat. Same place where you register for the workshop. There's a button that says upcoming and past workshops. You can view all of our past workshops there and all of the recordings, and that should be up by next week. Melody, thank you so much for helping us out as well on the Master Gardener side. And quick plug in, same place where this workshop is on our website. We have a lot of customer programs that we want to remind all of our customers about, a lot of customer support programs. One of the best ones right now is our weather-based irrigation controller rebate, which you get up to, I believe, $300 right now on the rebate, and most controllers are about $250. So wonderful resource there for our customers to take advantage of. And I just really want to make sure that everybody knows that if you guys have any questions on water use efficiency or saving water, you can always give me a call. My name is Jeffrey Diaz, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Melody, do you have any plugs before we close out our workshop?
No, but just for, well, I shouldn't say no. I was asking to say, especially my master gardeners, they know that. But we'll be back, of course, next month, and we'll be with George Spiliadis talking about native plants. And, you know, like I said, same time, same place. Next month, I hope to see all of you there. And again, if you have any questions, contact Jeffrey.
Yes, exactly. Here, I'm gonna drop
Of
him
course,
his
as
number
a
here.
master gardener, you can always contact me. I don't have my information in there, but I can put it in there. But yeah, you can always contact us. I did put in there the helpline information in case anybody had any type of problems with their plants. That's contact the master gardeners. And I think I put something else, and I don't remember now. But again, we're always available to you to assist everyone who's out here doing their gardening. So again, thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you at our next workshop.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you again, Kelly.
And thank you for having me.
To our two special guests that we had
Thank you.
in the guests as well, Director Laura Roden and my manager, Michelle Adams. Thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you guys next month. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right,
Thank
everyone,
you.
take care.